Hello, I'm Macy McKay.
And I'm Alan Fernandez, and this is going to be our submission for our Exam 2 in Environmental Science.
I will be discussing whether food should be a basic human right, uh, food insecurity and how to increase it, as well as how the U.S. is fighting hunger domestically and abroad. I will also be discussing genetically modified organisms as food.
And I will be discussing the importance of crop and animal production to human civilizations and the way it affects civilization, which includes a domestication of both plants and animals. And I will also be discussing my position on government-based agricultural subsidies, including price protection and control and crop insurances.
Food should be a basic human right simply because we cannot survive without it. There are millions of people in the U.S. alone struggling with hunger. Food insecurity is the condition of not having access to sufficient food or food of an adequate quality to meet someone's basic needs. To increase food security, we should raise the working wages. The wages that the majority of Americans make is barely enough to be able to afford food with the prices of food now. We should feed students for free every day at school and even send home food if they need it. We should also teach people how to grow their own food so we don't have to rely on the food supply. The U.S. has put into place a domestic and international anti-hunger initiatives, including the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, Food for Peace, Food for Progress, and the McGovern-Dole Food and Education programs to combat this crisis. Although the U.S. has put these into place, it is barely making a dent in food insecurity. The quality of food in the U.S. is horrible. We need to use the food grown in the U.S. and not import and export as much as we are using. Food grown in the U.S. will be much fresher, last longer, and better for us because it wouldn't have to contain as many preservatives. We are exporting more food than we are importing, so we should lower the amount that we export and use it to feed the U.S.
So I actually disagree with you on that last part whenever you were talking about the exports, because I feel like the U.S. does import, like we get a lot more products from other places such as China and stuff like that, and I just feel like one, it's keeping our economy at bay, which it just balances out because we're giving other countries money, but at the same time, whatever we produce, we sell to them, which then allows us to create money, and it just also creates jobs as well. Because I mean, in order to get that food or product across, I mean, we need workers to either drive boats or just various things like that. And I believe that the importance of crops and animal production have to human civilization is that they support livelihoods through food, habitats, and jobs by providing raw materials for food and other products while building a strong economy through trade. Since, like I had said previously, we do get a lot of our food or like certain stuff from other countries, so that does contribute to our economy as well. And an example of domestication in plants and animals would be cotton plants, since they're used to make cloth, flowers such as tulips, and an example of a domesticated animal would be a dog or a cat, sheep, cows, and pigs. A good way to be able to tell how animals are a good candidate for domestication is that the individual is able to grow and mature quickly, they are able to breed easily, and can undergo multiple periods of fertility in a year. Now, for plants, it is a little bit different, but it's kind of some of the same things. For plants, they do have to be non-poisonous, grow fairly fast, they need to be easy to breed, but they also need to have large or have nutritious leaves, such as, just have nutritious leaves or have some type of nuts, seeds, or fruit. And I personally believe that plants are the most critical to the foundation of human civilization in the future, just because, if we're really looking at like a food chain and stuff, producers are always the bottom lever or even the pyramid, just they're going to be the bottom, which is where animals obviously get their food. Because, I mean, they eat plants and stuff like that. And from there, they're able to grow, get fat, and then obviously, once it comes time, they do end up becoming food to us. And that's just why I think they're the most critical thing, just because without them, we wouldn't be able to get meat from animals because they wouldn't have anything to eat.
GMOs are genetically modified organisms. I support the use of them because they help us produce more without downgrading the quality. Many GMO crops have been genetically modified to express a gene that protects them against pests and insects. The Bt gene is commonly genetically engineered into crops like corn, cotton, and soybeans. It comes from a naturally occurring bacteria known as Bacillus thuringiensis. The gene produces a protein that is toxic to several pests and insects, which gives the GMO plants a natural resistance. Having the gene, the GMO crops don't need to be exposed to harmful pesticides as often. Growing GMO crops is much cheaper in the long run for farmers because they are more drought resistant and they don't need spray applications as much as non-GMO crops. Therefore, the price to the public is cheaper as well, which in return helps with food security.
So, do you think that GMO is benefiting us necessarily? Because, I mean, when I think of GMO, like, yes, obviously they do make food last longer, and there's tons of benefits, but I mean, do you really want, like, as many chemicals or things affecting your food? Because, I mean, we do have, like, organic options and stuff like that. But then I also look at it and it's just kind of like, it's helping us, but at what cost? Because there's been studies about how GMOs can bring, like, I mean, certain diseases or stuff like that.
Yeah, so there's actually less chemicals being used in a GMO crop because you are taking out the spray applications of chemicals, pesticides, herbicides, all that. So there's actually some that you don't need hardly any water for, so that cuts down the price on that. Where in like corn, they've got some that keeps the corn earworms out, so it'll almost immediately kill them because that can pretty much kill your yield. Because I mean they get pretty big, so they can eat about half the corn cob. So.
See, I didn't know that because I mean I know like whenever I buy produce and stuff like just strawberries, like I still wash them even though like
I do too, but
and like I don't know if you've seen like the videos like on TikTok where like they're like put vinegar and baking soda and stuff, and like sometimes there's like buzz or still like so much stuff that comes out. So like that's where my thought process is when it comes to like, are we using too many pesticides or like are GMOs harmful? Because I mean regardless, I feel like a lot of that stuff is still gonna come out.
Yeah, I mean you can't really not like completely knock out the bugs just because that's part of the environment. It's part of the natural world. So I mean you can try your best, but I mean a lot of bugs and stuff have like built up a resistance to actual chemical spraying. So GMOs are one of the only ways that you can still kill them, so keep them out.
Definitely, because I mean, I guess it's also just like anything. You can get sick, get diseases from literally anything.
It's like they're always having to change up like the vaccines and stuff because your body grows a resistance to it. So, I mean, it's pretty much the exact same as that. So
that definitely makes sense. On to my second topic. I think that government-based agriculture subsidies are a good thing because they do allow for prices to be low and also help farmers. Because I mean, like anything with food, there's a chance of maybe your crops going bad, or maybe it's not a good season. You're not making enough money as you used to, and just there's so many factors that can just contribute. And I just think that the government providing money or creating programs just helps these farmers out in so many ways.
No, it does. One of my buddies, he just started out farming this year, and he planted cotton to start out with. He bought 20 acres and insured it all. and the cotton came up, didn't do anything. So insurance paid out on it. He was able to pay his entire farm loan with it
Good.
and plant corn, and the corn ended up turning out.
So
And then-
it's definitely worth the
Yeah,
investment.
so I mean, just about the same thing happened with my family. We've got a lot of land up there in Tulia, and I mean, we haven't had any rain. We've had rain every time except for when we needed it.
Got you.
And so, I mean, it really helps with cotton, especially cotton, corn, sorghum.
Definitely. So yeah,
everything.
those.
So, I mean, it saves farmers.
Yeah.
For
So
sure.
those government-based subsidies, I mean, the assistance, for sure, like you were saying, it helps out a lot, because we can't control things such as the weather. I mean, how much rainfall, and just sometimes some plants don't grow as effective as others. And although they may be receiving the assistance, me personally, I feel like since the government is giving them money, it can cause us to maybe have like higher taxes and stuff, or end up having to pay those programs back in a sense to fund them. But I'd rather do that, because like if it's able to help others, why not? You know, it's gonna end up costing the same.
Somebody's got to grow the food.
Exactly.
They can't do that if all their crops aren't turning out because
sure.
they're broke.
And when it comes to price protection and control, I think it's a smart idea in basis, just due to it like setting up a base price. I mean, it does change, and it is different in each city or country even. But it just also just depends, because I mean, in different states and stuff, they obviously could get paid more, but I mean, also the cost of living could be higher, meaning also like the cost of food is higher. Like in Alaska, I know
Yeah.
it's extremely more
It's like
expensive.
the transportation costs, how
Mhm.
much it costs to get stuff there, where it comes from.
Definitely. And I mean, as I was saying, there's pros and cons to everything, but it definitely does create like a standard that, one, it doesn't allow for the manufacturers or the companies doing this to basically
Price
just
gouging.
price it whatever they want. Because I mean, if we're in an economic crisis and I mean things are bad, then they might want to up the price to make more money, because maybe the supply is short. Like COVID, for example. I mean, some stuff became cheaper. I know gas was really cheap, but then other stuff became like really expensive. And my thoughts on crop insurance is that it may seem like a dumb idea at first, because you're like, why am I going to be insuring land if it's like a natural thing? But in the long run, it ends up benefiting the farmers or people who purchase land or just crops in general, just due to the fact that they are insuring their investments, and it can be a waste of money, but they are protecting basically what they did pay for, or all their hard work. Because if the investment gets destroyed, it's better to have it secure rather than losing all the time, effort, and money again that you did put in there.
A lot of money.
And I see it kind of as like insuring your devices, because like my computer, my iPad, and my phone, they all have Apple Care, just because things happen sometimes, and I'd rather just have that sense of security of like, oh, if something happens, it's an easy fix. I can either get a replacement for free or just get it fixed and they'll send it back to me. It's just an easier thing to do.
Yeah, it's better to be safe than sorry.
For sure. So we are getting to the end of our discussion right now, and my final thoughts on my topics are that we are so involved in our food that maybe sometimes our efforts end up hurting us financially and physically, due to the fact that we have been spraying too many pesticides or chemicals on our food to be able to make it better or last longer, instead of just trying to deal with what we are given. I also think that food is such a major aspect of life that we don't realize it, because we don't struggle with many decisions that come along with it, just due to us just simply being able to get food from the grocery store. I do often feel as though we do take food for granted by simply throwing it away or not appreciating where it comes from. And I'm guilty of that sometimes. I made meal preps and I did throw away my veggies. I also feel like we want to turn everything into money or just like a business of where we can just do it for economic gain, which is why sometimes farming isn't done right, because there are right and wrong ways to do farming. And and once again, I am Alan Fernandez, and today I discuss the importance of crop and animal production to human civilization and the way it affects the civilization as well. And I also did discuss my position on government-based agriculture subsidies, price protection and control, and crop insurances.
And to close this off, I think that food should be a human right, simply because we can't live without it. To end food security, we should also promote the use of GMOs to help farmers produce more for less. If we do this, we will combat food insecurity as well as help out farmers and civilians. Food insecurity is such a major thing in the U.S., and if we don't combat this problem, it will only get worse with time. Once again, I'm Macy McKay, and I discussed food insecurity and the use of GMOs.
Thank you for joining us, and once again, this is for our Exam 2 in Environmental Science. Thank you.